They didn't notice the moment you started pulling away, that tiny shift in your voice, that second of hesitation in your replies, that silence you chose, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally realized they didn't. And now you're gone, quiet, distant, focused, and it's driving them crazy, not because you yelled, not because you exposed them, but because you stopped explaining yourself. You stopped begging to be heard. You stopped making space for someone who never made room for you. And the irony? Now they notice everything. The silence they once ignored now screams. The absence they thought wouldn't matter now weighs heavy in their chest. They won't show it, of course. They'll laugh louder, post more, pretend like nothing happened. But behind every fake smile, they're thinking about you. Because your silence, it hits differently. Not like a grudge, not like revenge, but like peace. Like closure they weren't ready for. Like a mirror reflecting back all the things they did, but never took responsibility for. They didn't expect you to heal without them. They didn't believe you could. But now that you're quiet, now that you've stopped reaching out, they're left wondering, did I lose them for good? And the answer, that's not your responsibility to give anymore. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That's what you've done. You didn't retaliate. You evolved. You became unavailable, not out of pride, but out of growth. Because you realized the loudest way to say "I'm done" is to say nothing at all. You're not silent because you're weak. You're silent because you finally learned how loud peace can be. And now, they're sitting in that silence, haunted by the very love they took for granted. This isn't about making them feel bad. This is about taking your power back. It's about showing you why your silence is more powerful than any reply. Why they can't stop thinking about you, even if their pride won't let them say it. Before we dive in, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I don't chase. I choose peace. And that's why they feel my silence. Let's begin. Because today I'm giving you the 7 real reasons why your silence is breaking them more than your presence ever did. Number 1. Silence creates the space where truth echoes the loudest. Your silence isn't empty. It's full of all the words you never got to say, full of the respect you were never given, full of the boundaries you finally built when you realized no one else would protect your heart for you. And now that you've gone silent, it's loud for them. You see, most people don't hear you when you speak. They hear you when you leave. They only start noticing the details when you remove your energy. The attention they once took for granted, the care they never matched, the messages you used to send, all of that disappears, and suddenly, you matter. But this time it's too late. Psychologically, silence creates a cognitive vacuum. The human brain hates uncertainty. It wants to fill in the blanks. So when someone who once gave you consistent energy suddenly disappears, the mind starts racing. Why did they stop? Are they with someone else? Did I do something wrong? Their thoughts spiral not because you're talking, but because you're not. They have no control over the narrative anymore. They're stuck in a loop, trying to decode silence. And that's the hardest code to crack. Because silence doesn't offer clues, it offers consequences. You didn't choose silence to manipulate. You chose it because you were tired of talking to someone who never truly listened. And now that you're not there, they're starting to realize your presence wasn't pressure, it was peace. Your absence speaks volumes. Every time they pick up their phone and see no message from you, every time they scroll and don't see your name, every time they go to sleep hoping maybe, just maybe, you'll reach out. But you don't. And in that space, the truth starts echoing. They remember the kindness you gave, the loyalty you offered, the patience, the love, the forgiveness. And all of a sudden that silence becomes unbearable, not because you're punishing them, but because they finally feel what you felt for so long, alone. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, silence is safer than speech. And in your silence, you are now protected, safe, grounded, no longer reacting, just observing, no longer chasing, just evolving. So don't doubt the power of your silence. Don't wonder if they feel it. They do. They just don't have the strength to admit it. Drop this in the comments if you feel it. My silence is my strength. And now they feel what I once carried. Number 2. Emotional detachment is the loudest wake-up call. You didn't just stop talking. You stopped reacting. You stopped caring about what they post. You stopped checking if they're online. You stopped needing closure from someone who never gave you honesty to begin with. And that, right there, is what's shaking them to their core. Because silence is one thing, but emotional detachment, that's a whole different level of power. When you stop letting someone's behavior control your peace, you break the cycle. You cut the emotional rope that used to pull you back every time. And now they're pulling on nothing. You're gone, and not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's what they feel, but won't admit. Psychology teaches us that people crave control, especially when they've been the one with the upper hand. They get used to your reactions, your texts, your tears, your frustration. So when all of that disappears, their brain enters a panic. Why aren't they mad? Why aren't they sad? Why don't they care anymore? And in that moment, you become the one in control, not by force, by letting go, by no longer needing to be understood by someone who never took the time to understand you. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you didn't love them. It means you loved yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't even offer a bandage. And the more peaceful you get, the more it disturbs the people who benefited from your chaos. They're not used to this version of you. The calm, composed, unbothered version. The version that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't check in. That version is a mirror to their failure, and most people can't look into that mirror for too long. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You realized it. You chose yourself. And that choice is echoing louder than any "I miss you" ever could. Your detachment is not cold, it's healed. And the silence that follows it? That's not absence. That's evolution. So, if you're questioning your decision, don't. You're not ignoring them to hurt them. You're ignoring them to heal you. And trust me, they feel that shift in every part of their soul. Number 3. The mind obsessively replays what it can't resolve. You ever notice how some songs get stuck in your head? Not because they're good, but because they're incomplete. That's exactly how the mind works when it comes to people too, especially the ones who go silent. Especially you. See, your silence didn't give them closure. It gave them confusion, and the brain hates confusion. Psychologists call this the zygarnic effect, the mind's tendency to hold on to unfinished emotional experiences longer and stronger than completed ones. So when you went silent, when you walked away without drama, without an explanation, without begging for one more chance, their brain didn't get to close the door. It just stayed wide open. And that's the part they can't stand. That's the part that haunts them. Because the more they try to move on, the more you come back in fragments, in memory, in guilt, in silence. And no matter how far they go, they carry those unfinished pieces like emotional luggage. They scroll through photos, old messages, unfinished conversations, and each one hits harder now. Not because you said anything, but because you said nothing. They wanted a reaction. They expected you to be hurt, loud, dramatic, something. But your stillness, that pierced deeper than any argument ever could. That quiet exit burned slower and longer, and now they replay it obsessively. Not because they love you the way you loved them, but because they can't figure out how you became untouchable. They underestimated your value until they lost your energy. And that realization, that's a storm they have to sit in. As the Stoics would say, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And right now their thoughts are soaked in regret, confusion, and the echo of your silence. You gave them peace once. Now your silence gives them noise. You gave them attention once. Now your absence gives them obsession. This is why silence isn't weakness, it's power. It keeps them circling around your memory like a song they can't stop humming, a sentence they can't finish, a book with the final page missing. You don't need to speak. You don't need to reply. Your absence is writing its own ending, and it's louder than you think. Number 4. They expected you to break, but you chose to build. Here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They were counting on your weakness. They thought silence would shatter you, that the distance would break your spirit, that you'd be the first to fold, to reach out, to beg for attention. But instead, you shocked them. You didn't fall apart. You leveled up. You didn't chase them. You chased purpose, and now they're confused. Because the old you, that version would have sent a paragraph, called twice, posted a sad quote. But the new you disappeared from their orbit without explanation. You became unavailable, not out of pride, but out of evolution. You decided that your peace mattered more than their presence. And that shift, it's driving them mad. Psychology calls this disconfirming expectations. When someone expects a reaction and doesn't get it, it rattles them, especially if they were used to controlling the emotional dynamic, especially if they believed they had the power, and now they don't. The balance shifted the moment you stopped showing up for someone who never met you halfway. The second you started feeding your mind, working on your goals, rebuilding your spirit, your silence turned into something much louder, your growth. Because that's what hurts them the most. Not that you're silent, but that you're stronger in that silence, that you found clarity in the chaos, that you didn't let the ending define your worth, you let it define your new beginning. And now they're watching, quietly, secretly, watching you rise, watching you glow, watching you do everything they thought you couldn't without them. And what do they feel? Regret. Not always because they lost you, but because they never expected you to find yourself. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. That's what you're doing, becoming better, not bitter, and that's why your silence is suffocating, because it's filled with the version of you they never believed would exist without them. You're living proof that survival isn't about who stayed, it's about who rebuilt. You're not cold, you're clear, you're not heartless, you're healed. And every day you rise silently, you remind them of what they lost when they thought you'd never rise at all. Number 5. Silence destroys manipulation, faster than words ever could. People who thrive on control don't fear confrontation, they fear indifference. The second you go silent, the second you stop explaining yourself, defending yourself, or reacting to their mind games, the whole structure they built to manipulate you collapses. Manipulators don't crave love. They crave control over your emotions. And when you used to argue, beg, cry, plead, they fed off that chaos. But your silence, that starvation, it's the moment they realize they can't pull your strings anymore. Because here's the reality, they knew exactly what they were doing. Every breadcrumb message, every hot and cold interaction, every passive-aggressive comment, it was all designed to keep you emotionally off balance. But now, your silence has become your boundary, and boundaries drive manipulators insane. Because they're not used to you saying nothing. They're used to you proving yourself, apologizing when you didn't do anything wrong, lowering your standards to keep the peace. But when you stepped into your power and stopped reacting, you exposed the game, and you refused to play. Psychology teaches us that manipulation loses power when it's ignored, not when it's confronted. Why? Because manipulators feed on energy, attention, reaction, and when that energy disappears, when your phone stops lighting up, when your tone becomes calm, when you no longer flinch at their silence or their sudden kindness, they panic. Your emotional detachment is their kryptonite, because silence gives you time to think, time to breathe, time to see the truth for what it was, not through the lens of guilt or nostalgia, but through clarity. And that's what they hate the most, that they no longer have access to your emotions. You took your power back, not by fighting, but by walking away from the battlefield completely. You healed in private. You moved forward in quiet. And now their manipulative tactics bounce off the version of you that no longer needs to be chosen to feel whole. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You disregarded their chaos. You chose peace. And your silence. It's the loudest declaration of freedom they've ever heard. You didn't need to get loud. You just needed to get gone. Number 6. Your silence becomes the mirror. They can't escape. Silence doesn't just confuse them, it confronts them. It puts them face to face with something they've been running from, themselves. When you go quiet, you're not just stepping back. You're forcing them to sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own choices. And most people aren't ready for that. See, when someone hurts you and you still choose to say nothing, that silence turns into a mirror, one that reflects back all the things they tried to avoid, their mistakes, their immaturity, their lack of accountability. You become a quiet reminder of everything they did wrong. And now, without you there to distract them, explain it away, or cushion their ego, they start to see it. Not all at once, but slowly, in moments, when they're alone, when the music fades, when the dopamine wears off. That's when your silence screams the loudest. That's when they wonder, was I the problem? Did I push away someone who genuinely cared? Did I lose something real while chasing attention or comfort or control? And those thoughts, they echo. Because the truth is, you didn't change to punish them. You changed to protect yourself. You didn't go silent to hurt them. You went silent to heal. But healing has consequences for the people who never thought you'd rise. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And that's exactly what you did. You didn't retaliate. You reflected. You didn't mirror their immaturity. You became the lesson they weren't ready to learn. And now they sit with that image over and over. The image of you walking away with dignity, with composure, with your peace intact. And it's eating at them. Because deep down, they know. If they had treated you better, if they had appreciated your presence, if they had grown with you instead of against you, you'd still be in their life. But now they're stuck with a version of themselves they don't like, and the version of you they can no longer reach. That's the torment. That's the regret. And you didn't have to say a word. You just had to become better, quietly. Number 7. You became the one that got away and that haunts them. In silence, something strange happens. You stop being just a memory. You become a mystery, and nothing haunts a person more than the one they can't figure out. The one they thought would stay stuck, but walked away stronger. You become the what if they can't erase. The emotional echo that lingers when they lay in bed and scroll through old conversations they'll never admit to rereading. You're the chapter they didn't finish, but can't stop reopening in their head. Because they didn't expect you to thrive. They expected you to pause, to wait, to hope. But instead, you transformed, quietly, without announcement. And while they were busy proving they didn't need you, you were busy proving to yourself that you never needed their permission to heal. That's what's driving them crazy. It's not just that you're silent, it's that your silence created space for you to evolve into someone they no longer recognize. Or worse, someone they finally realize they misjudged. They didn't respect you when they had you, but now that you're gone, you've become the standard, and nothing compares. No one hits the same. Because it's not about what you did. It's about how you made them feel safe, seen, respected, and now all that's gone. And their ego can't process that. Psychology tells us that people feel the most regret when they lose something they didn't fully understand until it was too late. That's you. You were their peace, and now that you're gone, they're trapped in their own chaos. And even if they never message you, never tell you, never admit it, know this: they remember. Every moment, every lesson, every time they looked down at a message and chose to ignore it. Every word they wish they could take back. And now they sit in the silence you left behind. The silence that doesn't need to yell or explain or prove anything, because it already said everything it needed to. As Seneca said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." And you walked that road alone, without applause. But now they see you at the top, quiet, glowing, untouchable, and they know they had a front row seat to your love, your loyalty, your heart, and they lost it. That's what haunts them, not your words, your absence. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You just went silent, and that silence became their torment. Not because you wanted revenge, but because you finally chose peace. Because you finally chose yourself. And that is what they never expected. They thought your silence meant you were weak. But now they realize it meant you were healing. You were becoming stronger. You were rising. And the person you're becoming in this silence? That version of you doesn't wait for breadcrumbs, doesn't crave attention, doesn't need validation. You are now someone who is full on your own. You are the quiet storm that shook their world. And no matter how loud they scream inside their own mind now, they'll never admit what they feel: regret, guilt, longing, confusion. But you don't need to hear them say it, because your silence already spoke the truth louder than their words ever could. You don't get power by making noise. You get power by knowing your worth and walking away when it's not respected. And if you're still healing, if you're still tempted to break your silence, don't. Stay the course. Let them feel the loss. Let your growth make the noise. Let your silence echo, because the ones who didn't value your presence should never be gifted with your return. Now, if this video lit something in you, if it reminded you of your worth, drop this final affirmation in the comments right now. My silence is sacred. My peace is power. And if you want more powerful Stoic, psychological, and motivational guidance just like this, Don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now. Turn on the bell so you never miss a reminder of your value. Your silence isn't empty, it's full of strength. Let it speak, let it heal, let it drive them crazy, while you rise above it all. I'll see you in the next video.